The sky split open with a blinding flash, casting New York City into chaos. Cars screeched to a halt, phones died mid-haul, and buildings shook as an ethereal rift shimmered overhead. People screamed and scattered as a strange energy pulsed through the streets, leaving some frozen in place, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. Dr. Elena Carter, an astrophysicist, stood on the rooftop of her lab, notebook in hand, trying to make sense of what no science had predicted. She noticed patterns in the energy, waves that hinted at intelligence beyond human understanding. Sirens wailed as planes spiraled out of control, crashing into the skyline. Amid the panic, a young boy touched the rift's light and vanished, only to reappear moments later with the uncanny ability to move objects with his mind. Elena's heart raced as she realized this was just the beginning. Humanity was no longer in control. The world had changed, and survival now required understanding forces that could bend reality itself. Fear mixed with awe as the sky continued to pulse, promising that life on Earth would never be the same again. People across the country woke to the same horrifying sight, a rift tearing open the sky, shimmering with impossible colors. News anchors struggled to maintain composure as live feeds showed entire towns being engulfed by strange energy. The military mobilized, but their weapons seemed useless against the phenomenon. In Denver, power grids failed, leaving millions in darkness, while in Los Angeles, cars were lifted off highways by invisible forces. Elena teamed up with investigative journalist Mike Reyes, who had been tracking unexplained phenomena for years. Together, they discovered disturbing reports of people exhibiting strange abilities or succumbing to sudden madness. Small creatures, almost shadow-like, slipped from the rift, attacking anything that moved. Governments attempted containment, enforcing curfews and evacuations, but panic only spread faster than any official plan. As they traveled from state to state, Elena and Mike pieced together a terrifying pattern. The rift was not random. It was targeting humanity, testing its limits, and possibly preparing for something far larger than anyone could imagine. Every city, every town, every person was now part of an unfolding cosmic experiment that could decide the fate of the planet itself. Chicago lay silent and empty, a city frozen in fear. Streets were littered with abandoned cars, windows shattered by strange winds, and the air vibrated with low, almost musical hums emanating from the sky. Survivors huddled in makeshift shelters, forming fragile alliances with neighbors they barely knew. Elena and Mike navigated the wreckage, discovering cryptic symbols etched into walls and streets, glowing faintly in the darkness. Each mark seemed to hint at a greater design, something ancient, something beyond human comprehension. The few remaining power sources were hijacked by individuals who had begun to show abnormal strength or control over energy. Fear turned neighbors into foes as desperation fueled paranoia, and trust became a rare commodity. The world beyond the city felt like a distant memory as survival became the only priority. Elena studied the symbols, sensing a connection to the rift, a puzzle embedded in the very fabric of reality. With every pulse from the sky, new challenges arose, buildings collapsing, shadows moving with sentience, and a sense of unseen eyes watching every action. As the city's last lights flickered, Elena realized that this was not just destruction, it was a test, and Chicago was merely the first trial. The rift's influence spread further, altering human biology and creating abilities that defied logic. Some could manipulate fire, others could walk through solid walls, while a few horrifyingly transformed into creatures no one could recognize. Ethical dilemmas exploded as humanity confronted the powers within its own ranks. Villages and cities fractured under the weight of jealousy, fear, and ambition. Elena discovered that the rift was somehow sentient, reacting to human emotions and intentions, shaping events to test morality, courage, and survival instincts. Agent Cross, a high-ranking military officer, emerged as a formidable antagonist, manipulating those with powers to create chaos and seize control. Elena and Mike faced constant threats from humans as much as from the rift itself. Families turned against each other, governments became puppet theaters, and society began to crumble in ways faster than natural disasters could explain. Yet, amidst the chaos, small pockets of hope emerged, people using their powers to protect others, resisting Cross's manipulations, and striving to find answers in the rift's patterns. Each discovery brought Elena closer to understanding the rift's purpose, yet every step forward revealed deeper dangers. Humanity's true test was only beginning, and the line between salvation and annihilation blurred with every passing moment. Survivors formed fragile networks across America, desperate for organization and safety. Fear and mistrust clashed violently as human factions fought over supplies, territory, and the newly awakened powers. Elena and Mike traveled relentlessly, uncovering records and ancient manuscripts hinting that the rift had been predicted centuries ago. Legends spoke of a celestial gateway that judged humankind, bestowing gifts and punishments based on behavior, courage, and ingenuity. Meanwhile, Agent Cross orchestrated brutal offensives, seeking to harness powers for control and dominance. Cities burned, skies glowed with unnatural light, and rivers of energy flowed unpredictably, causing widespread destruction. Elena's team faced moral dilemmas, questioning how far they were willing to go for survival and whether the ends justified the means. Trust became a currency as scarce as food and water. Every encounter revealed new mutations, strange creatures, and hidden agendas, pushing humanity to its limits. Through it all, Mike documented the chaos, believing that understanding the rift's history might offer the key to closing it. With tension mounting and the nation fractured, the question remained, could humanity unite in time, or was the rift simply accelerating the inevitable collapse of everything familiar? The sky began showing visions, reflections of possible futures that were both awe-inspiring and terrifying. People reported seeing cities in flames, loved ones lost, and landscapes unrecognizable, all seemingly determined by the rift's enigmatic intelligence. Elena studied these visions, realizing they were not random. They were clues, messages designed to guide or warn. She discovered references to a key, somewhere in the United States, capable of closing the rift, though its nature remained a mystery. As she and Mike raced to locate it, they encountered extreme weather phenomena, mutated predators, and factions determined to exploit the chaos for personal gain. Every choice had consequences, as a single wrong decision could doom entire regions. The rift seemed to anticipate their moves, testing resolve and judgment. Along the journey, sacrifices became inevitable, allies were lost, and bonds tested in ways that no apocalypse manual could prepare anyone for. Humanity's resilience was pushed to the breaking point, forcing both ordinary and extraordinary people to rise beyond fear. With the key's location nearly within reach, hope burned alongside desperation, promising that the final confrontation was imminent, and that the fate of the world depended on whether courage could overcome overwhelming uncertainty. Time was slipping away as the rift's energy grew more intense, consuming entire landscapes and threatening total annihilation. Elena and Mike infiltrated a government facility, seeking alien technology rumored to hold the key to closing the sky's tier. Agent Cross launched a calculated strike to seize the power for himself, igniting a war between factions and powers unleashed by the rift. Explosions ripped through corridors, and energy pulses caused visions to bleed into reality, creating chaos both tangible and psychological. Every corner of the facility was a trap. Allies turned against each other under extreme stress, and reality itself seemed unstable. Elena and Mike fought not only for survival, but for the chance to protect humanity from extinction. The rift pulsed above, almost taunting them, as if aware of every move. Their combined intellect, courage, and willpower allowed partial success. The key was activated, but the rift retaliated violently, growing larger, brighter, and more unpredictable. Humanity's final test had arrived, with stakes higher than ever, forcing a reckoning between hope, sacrifice, and the unknown forces shaping Earth's destiny. The ultimate confrontation erupted as the rift threatened to engulf the planet entirely. Humanity, fractured but resolute, united in a desperate attempt to stop the celestial phenomenon. Elena deciphered the final sequence, channeling knowledge from the rift itself to initiate closure. Cities, forests, and coastlines became battlefields as forces collided, powers clashing in bursts of light and devastation. Sacrifices were made, heroes fell, villains faced consequences, and relationships were forever altered. The sky pulsed one final time, testing humanity's courage, morality, and perseverance. When the rift finally began to close, scars remained geographical, psychological, and emotional, but the Earth survived. Life would never return to what it was, and new abilities, mysteries, and threats lingered as humanity adjusted to a changed world. Elena and Mike, battered but alive, gazed at the horizon, aware that the rift had left more than destruction. It had left questions, opportunities, and a warning. The world had evolved overnight, and every human now carried the memory of when the sky opened, and Earth was never the same again.